Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this seminar, this masterclass on how to make a game-changing impact. My name is Baiju Solanki. I'm delighted to be here today. I just want to congratulate Kethan and the team on putting this event on. It's very much needed, and I think there's a lot of value. I've been watching a lot of the talks yesterday. It's been great. So I'm talking about how you can make a game-changing impact, especially in the time we're living in now. We have been exposed to things that are outside our control, and whether you're running a business, you've been running it for a number of years, or whether you've been recently running it, the problems we're facing now are very unprecedented. And what I want to talk about today is my journey over the last 10 years when I've left my corporate job and started my own business, and the impact it's had on how I run my business. And a lot of the lessons that I've learned over the years is what I teach now, and they're even more pertinent now. And I want to talk about what a number of things about what I've had to confront and what that means in terms of business. So I want to share my screen. Hopefully you can see everything there. Oh, sorry. Hopefully you can see my screen. So I'm talking about how to make a game-changing impact. So I'm going to talk about 1 year to change my life, but 10 years to prepare. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of what that actually looks like in the last 10 years. Well, more than 10 years if you like. Start back when I was a psychology lecturer back in '94. Got married, had a child. Oh, hang on. Screens are going there. So this is a timeline of my life since 1994, since becoming psychology lecturer. You'll see that I was a corporate life. I had my first child in 1996, become a sales director in 2004. I won Businessman of the Year. 2011, I opened a restaurant, wrote my first book. And then 2014, my marriage broke up. Now at the time, obviously it's very traumatic, but so many lessons are learned, not only in terms of life, but in terms of my business as well. 2017, I launched my platform, published my third book, Change Your Game. And then 2019 was the game changer for me in terms of how I started making a game changing impact, not only in my life, but with my clients. And who would know what 2020 encountered? And we came across a situation where we had so much optimism for the new decade. And then all of a sudden we're confronted with this pandemic and COVID, and plans were all over the shop. So what happened in 2019? Well, in 2019, this is what I looked like, but it wasn't always like that. 2 years before that, I was like this. Now, I thought I was healthy, I thought I was good, I thought I was fine, but I realized that a lot of the things that I was talking about, I wasn't completely preaching within myself in terms of my life. And I saw there was a massive connection in terms of how we look after ourselves, how we grow our business, and how we make an impact. So just to warn you, I'm going to show you sort of the transformation that occurred for me, and you'll see that it was quite massive. Over a period of a year, I lost 20 kilos and got quite transformed. So what I want to talk, I show you this to show you that the skills and the actions and things I'm going to talk about today led to me having this transformation. And 90% was mindset. So I want to stop sharing my screen now. 90% was mindset. And what you realize is that when you understand about your mindset, it puts you in a different frame of mind to take the right actions with the right strategy. And when you start to understand what those attributes are, it allows you to get clarity in your mind and start making the impact you want to do. So during this talk, I'm going to talk about, let me show you my screen. I'm going to talk about three things here. What's really, I can't, hopefully you can see my, oh, hang on. I'm not sure. Can I just check? Can you see my, should be able to see my screen there? Yeah, okay. I'm talking about 4 skills, 3 games, 2 tactics, and 1 action. And these are really pertinent for the period we're living in now. And when I talk about 4 skills, where are we? When I talk about 4 skills, these are skills that you can apply today. My main work is around with entrepreneurs who want to make a game-changing impact. But what's really interested me is understanding what entrepreneurship really is. And for me, entrepreneurship is not about running a business. It's a mindset. Entrepreneurship is more about a thought process. It's a thought process that attributes different behaviors and different actions to what you want to do. And what's really interesting, when I started investigating what the etymology of the word entrepreneur is, you start to understand that it's nothing about growing a business per se, but it's about your behaviors and actions. So the word entrepreneur comes from the Sanskrit word athena-prena, which directly translated means self-motivation. So Gary Vaynerchuk talks about entrepreneurship, but he also talks about entrepreneurial tendencies. And my vision is to have a world where everybody thinks entrepreneurially, but allowing them to think entrepreneurially means that they can attribute those attributes to any aspect in life. And when we start to understand what thinking entrepreneur is like, you start to understand that anything's available to you. And a lot of the thought process around being an entrepreneur led to me having that body transformation. Because that body transformation wasn't about the food I ate or the training I did. It was about the decisions I made in my head. And those are the same decisions you need to make in your business. And this is what I attribute to my business on Spirit. On Spirit looks at 3 pillars: your values, your profession, and your mission. So when I work with entrepreneurs and business owners, what's at the core is what are your values? How do you want to make a difference in the world? And what is your mission? And this is how we unleash the entrepreneurial spirit in the way you be in your world and your work. So I want to get practical now with you. I want you to be able to take away some practical tips that you can apply today in your business that allows you to make a difference in your world today. And I'll talk about the 4 skills during this pandemic that if you understand these 4 skills and you practice these 4 skills, it will make a whole load of difference. Skill number 1 is this: follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. We're in this pandemic now where we are working remotely. We cannot now go to events and seminars and go to meet people in hotels and have one-to-ones and have random meetings. We cannot do that. And follow-up is so important. So when you look at your current situation, you've got to ask yourself, I put these into 3 pots. The first follow-up pot is low-hanging fruit. People that know you and you know them. So when you pick up the phone, they know who you are. Have a conversation. See what they're up to. It could be a potential client. It could be a potential partnership. It could be a potential collaboration. The second pot is people that you know but may not know you as well. Give them the opportunity to get to know you. That's how we use social media. And there's many other seminars and masterclasses during this Startup Summit that allow you to understand how to use social media. And the third pot is those people who really want to know you but don't know you yet. And it's your responsibility to follow up on conversations, follow up on likes and comments on posts they've made to you before to create a conversation. And if you focus every single day on who do I need to follow up today, it can make a massive difference. The key to follow up is number 2, relationship first. You do not follow up with the intention of selling something or telling them, advising them. It's about building a relationship. Be interested in them. Understand what they're about. Understanding where they're at. We are in this very unique position now where there is loneliness. There is people who feel isolated. But the only consolation I will say about this period is that everybody's in the same situation. Everybody's in the same situation. So when you speak to someone else about where you're at, 9 times out of 10, they can relate to that. The third part of this is start to build your game-changing team. And what I mean by this is if you're a solo entrepreneur, if you're working on yourself, there was a great talk previously to me about outsourcing. Ask yourself this: who do I need in my team? You don't need to do it on your own. And a team can be built on many different aspects. It could be through, like I say, for partnerships with Quid Pro. It doesn't always have to be about exchanging money for currency. I listened to a great talk this morning. Someone's putting a great event on for young entrepreneurs. He's got some great speakers there who normally charge, but his currency was his relationship. His relationship with his people allowed him to call upon these individuals to put on this event. Look at what Kethan's done. Kethan has drawn upon his network, drawn upon his contacts to put this event together over an 8-week period. And you can only do that if you've got a game-changing team. The third aspect leads to self-care, and this is saying no. is don't be afraid to say no. Saying no is very powerful. And it's saying it in the right context. And when you start to understand what the context of your life in terms of what you want, this goes back to your values. Do you understand what your values are? If you understand what your values are, it's easier to say no. Now I want to talk about the free games for impact. What are the free games for impact? And this is the model that I use when I work with clients to understand that when you understand what the free games are, these are the areas that allow you to make the greatest impacts. And this is the model I use. This is the sort of the game changer model. You'll see at the top there, the inner game. The inner game is about the context you live your life and the impact you naturally make. The game plan is the strategy and roadmap. And the outer game is your daily actions. So you've got to ask yourself is when you're making a decision, when you're making a choice, when you're growing your business, when you're looking at after yourself, is one of these three aspects going to be in place? Is your mindset has an impact on the strategy you create. The strategy you create will have an impact on your actions, but it's quite fluid. And what I mean by that is, for different people, it's different. For some people, they need to have a strong mindset before they can create a strategy. For some people, they need to have a clear strategy in order for them to understand what action to take. And for some people, they need to take some action before they can have a strong mindset. And when you start to understand that your success, your total success, is dependent on how you conquer these three games, you start to get clarity. Because if something's not working, either your mindset's not in a great place, you haven't got a great plan, or you're not consistent enough in your actions. And when you start to identify what those are for you, it's a game changer, because then you say, okay, this is where I need to focus. And at the end of this talk, I'm going to show you a resource that allows for you to identify how you can make a game-changing impact and which of those three games is your strongest. So here's a brief summary. The inner game is all about what happens between your ears, your mindset, the context you live your life, your thoughts and your feelings, and how you deal with emotions. That's your inner game. Your game plan is about your overall strategy. What does the big picture look like? Can you visualize what your life or your business will look like in the future? Do you know how to get it? And your outer game is the actions you take. And nothing happens with actions, but it's more about the consistency of your actions. What I want to focus on before I talk some tactics is the inner game. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to talk about the inner game, and it's about the context you live. And sometimes people think it's about mindset, and it's not always about mindset. Oops, here we go. And this model you may have come across before, but I have a slightly different take on it. And it's this: is imagine. You know, when you're growing up and you're always asked what you want. What do you want, right? This is what you want. This is what you have. And then you're immediately asked, well, in order for you to have what you want, do you know what to do? So this is the do. So imagine what you want is lots of money, a great job, relationships, clients, whatever it is you want. These are all the things that you want. So immediately our mind goes to, whether you're running a business, whether you're, imagine a young individual who's sort of growing up and asking, what do you want? And then this is what I want. Okay, now you know what you want. You then list all the things you need to do. So in order for you to have lots of money, you might want to start a business. In order for you to have a great relationship, you need to go dating. In order for you to, get your ideal job, you need to get those qualifications. If you want to be a doctor, you need to go to medical school. So immediately, our brain goes to, what do I need to do in order to have what I want? Now, if it was just about understanding what you need to do to get what you want, wouldn't we all be successful? Think about it. In Google, you can Google all the hows. If it was just about the how, you'd always got what you want, but it's not the case. If I said to you, if someone said, well, I want to be as successful as Gordon Ramsay, right? And Gordon Ramsay wrote his manual of how he created his empire, gave you the menu and said, if you copy everything in this manual, you're going to get the same success. Would you get the same success? You wouldn't. So you've got all the hows, but you still wouldn't get what you want. So what happens in life, what do we do is this, is if we don't get something here, we either do one or two things. We change the do, or we change our target. And life oscillates between these two. If we don't get what we want, we change our how. If we do get what we want, we then up the how. Or we don't get what we want, then we change our target. So with life, we oscillate. And we're never satisfied. We never get to the point of being who we truly want to be. Who's that? That's someone who's successful, who's content, who's happy, who's driven, whatever that is. We live this way. So when we talk about the inner game in the programs, and in this book here, Change Your Game, the inner game is what's the context you live your life? Do you live your life from the context of what I want? So I will drive my life between what I want. So then I will focus on what I do and never actually be happy. Or my invitation to you is this. Imagine you lived your life this way. You decide this moment on, who do I need to be? I need to be someone who's a successful business person. I need someone who's a great in relationship. I need someone who's a compassionate individual. I need someone who's driven, whatever that is. And you start from that premise. And then you say to yourself, what does this person do? Someone who's driven does this. Someone who's compassionate does this. Someone who's customer focused does these things. And then when you wake up, you don't decide, right, what do I want today and do that. The way you wake up every day, you say, well, who do I want to be and what does that look like? Now this is the irony. This is the irony of these things, is that this list looks the same as this list. However, when you operate from this point, the result doesn't matter. Let me reframe that. The result matters, but you're not attached to it. Imagine an Olympic athlete who's training for 4 years. They wake up every day to do what they need to do. They train, they eat, they sleep. They train, they eat, they sleep. So they can perform at the Olympics. The result will be the result. And if they win the race, if they get the gold medal, great. If they don't, but they've done everything to their power, they can live with themselves. And this is my invitation to you, is to say, okay, instead of waking up each day and say, right, what do I want for me? Who do I want to be for the people I serve? And what does that list look like? So living your life from who you want to be to what you want to get, as opposed to this way. And this is one of the things that I talk about within my programs and when I work with clients, to say, well, who are you being today? It's a tough one because at the moment there's so much uncertainty in the world. Is trying to be centered and being the individual you are is very hard, but it can be such a game changer. And when I did my transformation and when I work with clients, every day I wake up with who am I want to be today and then operate from that position. Now I want to talk about, let me share my screen, here we are, is two tactics. Two tactics that can be a game changer and you can apply literally today. And tactic number one is this: not being attached to the outcome. And this is linked to when I talk about here in terms of the be, do, have. What I mean by that is this, imagine this. Imagine you did something and irrespective of the outcome, you want the outcome, but irrespective of the outcome, you don't get attached to it. So you're going after a sale. You go after the sale, you do the consultation, you have the conversation, you present all the benefits, you listen to them, you do all those things. They will say yes or they will say no. Their yes or no will be influenced in terms of what you do, because that's what part of sales is. However, is when you start having the mindset as whatever occurs there, I'm not going to be attached to the outcome. What happens then is you're driven by who you want to be, not what you want. Because when you're attached to the outcome, if you get the outcome you want, hallelujah, fantastic, great, it's going to be superb. But if you don't get the attachment you want, all of a sudden, it can be a detrimental emotional impact on you. And then you're thinking, whoa, okay, I didn't get that what I want. Do I change my tactic? Is it are you as productive? And the odds are you're not. So if you live your life by saying, right, I'm no longer going to be attached to the outcome, what will be the impact of my performance? What will be the impact of my performance if you're not attached to the outcome you're looking for? You want the outcome, but you're not attached to it. The other tactic that I want to introduce you to is the concept of micro goals. And micro goals are different to normal goals. Usually goals get you to aim for the stars, but if you miss, you hit the moon. Micro goals are slightly different. Micro goals aims you to aim for the moon and hit the moon. And micro goals has 3 criteria. So when I work with my clients and I work with one of the things that we talk about is every single day set 3 micro goals. And 3 micro goals has 3 specific criteria. Number 1, you are totally in control. Number 2, they are measurable. And number 3, they are achievable within the day. So what I mean by totally in control, let me give you an example. You might say, today I'm going to have 5 sales conversations. Is that a micro goal? Is it measurable? Yes, it's 5. Can you achieve that in one day? Yes, you can. Is it totally in your control? No, it's not. Because you can't control whether somebody will respond to you. What would be a better micro goal is I'm going to make 5 dials, or I'm going to reach out to 5 people. What then occurs, whether they respond to you, is outside your control. And setting micro goals under this criteria achieves 3 things. Number 1 is you just feel good because you're guaranteed to achieve a micro goal at the end of the day if you have this criteria. Because when you're totally in control, you guaranteed to get it, which means you feel better, you feel good about it, and when you feel good about something, your productivity goes up. Number 2, you just get stuff done, because when you set micro goals with this criteria, you get stuff done, which means that you progress your business. And number 3 is that it overcomes procrastination and overwhelm. And the irony is this: it creates momentum. Is that when you achieve something on a Monday, if you achieve it well, what you can achieve a Tuesday is probably a little bit more, because you're building that momentum, you're riding the wave of what you've achieved on Monday. So by the end of the week, if you follow this criteria and be disciplined around it, you can achieve a lot. So micro goals are very different to normal goals in the bigger context. These are like, you might have your bigger goal, these are broken down. And when you follow that criteria of being totally control, measurable and achievable, it can make a massive difference. Where are we now? Okay. Oh, so 10 minutes remaining. Oh yeah, great. Your screen isn't showing. Oh, you can see the screen now. Good. That was before. Sorry, I saw the chat. Where are we now? Yeah, so so here we are. So let me show you my screen. So I promised earlier to show you an opportunity to understand how you can measure your impact in terms of your game. We've developed what we call the Change Your Game scorecard. The Change Your Game scorecard measures you on those 3 areas: the inner game, the game plan, and the outer game. And you get a report that gives you sort of percentage, and you see an example of a report here that this person got 77%. The URL is Change Your Game Score. That URL is in the exhibitor area in the summit, where you see, and there's an opportunity to get your book. So I want to draw upon the inner game and the Change Your Game model for one moment. A lot of people ask me, okay, so is it which of those 3 games are most important? That's a redundant question. I'll explain that. Is when I work with entrepreneurs, what you find is that we often go after the how. How do I do something? How do I create a Facebook advert? How do I create my funnel? How do I do this social media strategy? How do I grow my business? How do I get clients? There's a lot of how questions. The thing with the how question is this: is if your inner game isn't in a great place, is the how question becomes foggy, because you start to think, well, as long as I get the how sorted out, I can achieve what I need to achieve. And it's not always the case. And what the scorecard allows you to do is to understand actually how strong each of those 3 games are. And when you start to, thank you, 5 minutes left, I've got a couple of minutes left. When you start to understand that each of those 3 games has an impact on each other, you start to understand, wow, okay, I realize that I know what I really want to achieve. My game plan is clear. I've got a great roadmap. And working with a lot of the people I speak to, is the one consistent thing I find is they really know what they want. You probably know what you want. You probably have an idea of what you want the rest of this year and 2021 to look like. again, let's put aside the uncertainty for one moment. There's a number of things that a lot of the great speakers talk about in terms of getting your ducks in order and able to pivot in your business. So what you find is people's game plan is very clear. They've got a great game plan and know the steps to take. What you find is this, is the consistency of their actions, their outer game is not there. And the reason the consistency of the actions are not there is because there's a conversation in their head. The conversation could be, am I good enough? Is it the right time? What if I fail? What if people don't look at me? All these things. So that conversation in your head, then that leads to inconsistent actions. What then also leads to is because you are clear about your plan, it leads to frustration, and it's a cycle. And my suggestion to you is this, is when you look at your business and when you look at, especially if you're a startup, is it's very easy to map out what you want, and it's very important to map out what you want. But don't fall into the trap of thinking, as long as I've got my plan, as long as I know my steps, as long as I know what I'm looking for, that is enough for me to get the success you want. That ain't gonna happen. Two things need to occur, is you need to be clear here, and need to be understanding where you're at. And this is where there's so many great speakers and mentors speaking during this summit, is make sure that you go and get a mentor, make sure you go and get a coach, make sure you're part of some sort of mastermind group, because those kind of environments unleash your potential. And in my book, Change Your Game, we talk about that. And there's an opportunity to get that book. When you do the scorecard, and I'll put the URL up again so you can see. This is the, let me just, there you go. So changeyourgamescorecard.com. Changeyourgamescorecard.com. Make sure you go to that URL. When you complete the scorecard completely free of charge, you'll get an opportunity to download my book as well. The scorecard will give you a percentage score, as you see here, which shows you where you are in the free games. It'll also give you an individual score. So when you get that individual score, it will give you some tips about where you can improve that score for the inner game, the outer game, and the game plan. So I think my time is up. Is my time up? I'm not sure. Is there any questions we got here? Let me just stop sharing my screen. 1 minute. Great. I think my time, I'm done now. I'm good. Any questions we got? I don't know if there's any questions or anything. So listen, I hope you enjoyed that. No problem. Hope you enjoyed that talk in terms of making a game-changing impact. As I say, there's an opportunity to find out how strong your game is. Go to that URL, Change Your Game Scorecard. I wish you all the success. Congratulations again to Kethan and the team for being this summit on. It's been fantastic. I've been watching some of the speakers. It's been a great event, and I hope you've enjoyed this talk and taken something out of it. And look at my details are in the exhibit pack, in the networking bit, and the summary in the swag bag. So if you want to contact me, by all means, I'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much.